Happy Friday morning and welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition today, as always, we are on Birmingham Area Municipal Access on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, 88.1 FM The Biff, as well as on 89.3 Lakes FM and lakesfm.com. Today, once again, our Facebook partner is Oakland University, joining us via Facebook Live. And my co-host today, as always, from her home studio, is Ronnie Dahl.
And as we're coming on the air today, Tyler, a bit of breaking news right now. The governor has activated the Michigan National Guard amid planned armed protest in Lansing this weekend. So that is unfolding right now in our state capital. The Michigan State Police will be giving an update concerning security in Lansing ahead of the weekend protest. So we'll continue to monitor that situation for you on this Friday as we come on the air here January 15th. A lot to get to on today's show, so we'll just go ahead and do a dive into the day's headlines. Michigan's new projected timeline for the vaccine distribution looks much different than the estimates announced by the state health department in mid-December. So according to that timeline, the final priority group, which includes the general public and those 16 years as well and older, was expected to begin receiving the vaccine in late March or early April. That date, Tyler, now looks like it won't be happening until August. State officials say significant reductions in the number of vaccine doses the state has received from the federal government compared to expectations is to blame for that slower than anticipated rollout of the vaccines. The state planned for 300,000 doses per week, but has reportedly received 60,000 per week. And what that means for all of us, we are going to be living under these restrictions for months to come.
Yeah, that's unfortunate in this situation, considering how long the wait has already been, and that there was so much hope from the previous announcements that these rollouts were going to be wrapping up probably around mid to late spring. Now it's probably going to be well into the summer before we're wrapping up the vaccines at this point in time. Obviously, some hiccups along the way as the logistics of distributing a COVID-19 vaccine came into play and met some hiccups with, of course, surges in cases, with distribution issues from the federal government to the states, and then planning for those distributions. The healthcare community being focused elsewhere as they dealt with ongoing caseloads of COVID-19, which slowed down those priority groups. And then now we're seeing things start to pick up a little bit more, but we're behind a little bit. So those delays, not to be surprised by, but definitely to be disappointed by if you were in one of those lower priority groups and were anticipating getting vaccinated against COVID-19 sooner.
Well, look, we're 10 months into this pandemic and we still can't find Lysol spray on the store shelves. So we're still in the middle of this, and testing continues to be an issue as well, and the accuracy of some of the testing as well. So I don't think anyone's surprised that we're in the middle of these hiccups, as they like to say, when it comes to the rollout and the logistics of getting the vaccine distributed to the public. Also, as the vaccinations continue across the U.S., some companies are offering financial incentives to encourage their workers to get the shots. Instacart, the grocery delivery service, announced Thursday that it would provide a $25 stipend for workers who get the COVID-19 vaccine. It joins others such as Trader Joe's, as well as Dollar General. A vaccine advisory panel at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control voted late last month on recommendations for vaccine distribution. The panel said grocery workers, which would of course include Instacart and Dollar General, should be in the second group to receive the shots after healthcare workers and the nursing home residents. Companies can mandate that workers get COVID-19 vaccines as a requirement for employment, although they must make accommodations for medical or religious reasons, according to guidance from the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Yeah, these companies are going to be making some incentives for people to get their COVID-19 vaccinations. They want to make sure they're not bringing COVID-19 into the workplace, and with some reservations there's going to be from the general public of getting these vaccines. It's going to be necessary in some cases for employers to make it worth their while, and you know, a $25 stipend by some grocery delivery services for workers who get the vaccine, not exactly all that enticing, but it's something that's out there to say, hey, if you do this, we're going to help you out. We're going to give you something. We're going to give you at least a little something to make it more worth your while, or maybe hopefully convince you that whatever reservations you may still have are not entirely necessary, and you can at least put yourself in a safer position. So there are some industries that will require this, and the legality of that's already a hot debate. It will certainly continue to be a hot debate as we get further on into the pandemic and try to find a way to return to some semblance of normalcy, or whatever normalcy is going to be after COVID-19.
I will say I'm a little bit surprised that grocery store employees aren't higher on the list, because when you really kind of take in consideration, it's an essential job, and they come face to face with more people every day than a lot of our first responders, such as, you know, even police officers or firefighters that don't have to do the medical runs. So I'm really surprised that they weren't in that first wave. Also, the latest on the numbers here in the state of Michigan, the health department reported 2,698 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday, with 139 deaths. Keep in mind, though, when it comes to the deaths, 107 of those were identified during a vital records review. So, so far, the state of Michigan now has just over 531,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 13,672 confirmed deaths, and that is since March. Michigan had a positivity rate of 6.26% Wednesday. So that at least is a little bit of good news, that we are seeing that positivity rate come down. That is one of the things that the governor and her team looks at when trying to determine to lift some of the restrictions.
Yeah, that's been on the list for a while. That was one of the causes for concern that brought us back into the second round of shutdowns, that brought us into the second wave of COVID-19, when those positive case rates were going up into the mid to late teens in percentages. Of course, that 3% threshold is where you want to be below in order to have a very low chance of community spread of COVID-19. We were really close to that just before this latest surge in mid to late November and into the holidays. We were getting really close to that. Michigan was one of the highest performing states in terms of preventing COVID-19 and lowering the case rate. And then even in recent weeks, our current positivity rate was more than double what it is right now at that 6.26%. So it's consistently going down. It's going down a lot quicker than it had been earlier on in this latest surge of COVID-19 cases. So that is some good news, especially as we get closer to February 1st for industries like restaurants are expected at this point. The goal at this point is to reopen them to some capacity on February 1st.
Yeah, so you can find the latest headlines. Go to civiccentertv.com, click on coronavirus, and that's where you'll find the latest headlines. But also we put direct links to resources that you want to check out, including the CDC, the state of Michigan. Oakland County right now is very important. If you go to that link, you can also reserve a spot if you are 65 or older in order to get the vaccine. So we try to make it easy for you. We have a lot to get to on today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we return, we'll kick off the show with one of the restaurant owners here in the local area. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, Turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6. If you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
We want to say thank you for taking time out of your Friday to be with us here on the Megacast. We have a packed show, so let's go ahead and get the show going. And joining us now is Doug Young. He is the owner of Fork and Pint, one of my favorite restaurants in the local area here. Thanks for being with us, Doug.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me, Ronnie.
So I know that we had talked earlier on the eve of the announcement. We anticipated it. I will say the one thing I found surprising from the governor is she said there's a possibility that they want to reopen on the 1st. When you hear that, what do you think?
Well, it adds to the difficulty that we're all having trying to make our plans as to what we're going to do. My understanding in that last discussion of pushing back to the 1st was to help us get better prepared to do it. But yet, unfortunately, we don't know it's for sure. So that makes it hard for us to prepare. And we understand there's going to be some additional guidelines that would be nice to understand what they are for our preparation. Is there going to be curfews? Is there not? What sort of load capacities are we going to be able to function with in our restaurant? So we're happy to see the light come at the end of the tunnel, but it's still very difficult, and it's not giving us the information that would be helpful for us to be ready for this date, as stated.
Yeah, because there is light at the end of the tunnel, but that light is very dim, right? Because what actually goes on behind the scenes to be able to reopen and revamp? Now, you're still open. You do have curbside, you do have carry out, and you do have some of the outdoor seating and dining, which has become very popular. But in order to reopen to dining, there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Yes, there is. And staffing is the most difficult part of it. It's been very challenging the whole year. When we were able to reopen in June, and thank goodness that there was protection money out there for the workers, but some of that money offset what people might be making going to work. So it was hard to get people to walk away from, the money coming from the government for their support and get them to come back to fill the jobs needed in the restaurant industry. So it was, after opening, it was a good 6-week ramp up. We're hoping it's not going to be as difficult this time. But it is that the hardest part is getting people back in, trained, up to speed to the new protocols and whatever restaurant they're working in, their menus and everything else that goes with it. So staffing is the toughest part in getting ready for this.
Because before, at least a lot of the college kids were home. But a lot of the college kids, even if they're not doing on-campus classes, they've still left to go back to their dorm rooms or their off-campus apartments. So you've lost that workforce until, they return in the summer.
Yes, absolutely. The summer is our best workforce pool, and being in the middle of winter and laying off your more steady staff in the area. A lot of people have had to relocate, move in with family members. So even some of the people that you've counted on aren't always going to be available when you have a break like this, and they're forced to find other ways to keep their roofs over their heads. So it is going to be a challenge, but those are challenges we would rather fight on our own terms, on our own efforts. So give us the ability to open, and we will deal with our own challenges. Without the ability to open, it's all taken out of our own hands, and that makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, because what's the supply chain like to be able to get the supplies in and ramp up? And again, how do you pre-order not knowing whether or not you're going to be open till 10 o'clock or till midnight or till 2 o'clock. I mean, that's a big difference in trying to get the supplies that you need.
Yeah, it is. The groups, the people we work with are very professional and ready to go as well. But again, it becomes harder on the individual operator, understanding what your usages are going to be with, so much high perishables in your fruits and vegetables, and dairies and meats. So really trying to figure out how is the customer going to respond? What sort of sales volumes might you be able to expect? That's more difficult for us than making the order through our supplier and feeling comfortable they'll have it. That's not a concern. In the spring, there was some difficulties as this was sweeping the nation, and packing plants and so many other facilities were affected. That has not been the problem as of late. Really, it's going to be understanding what is our consumer demand going to be, how are people going to respond, and how much do we need to order to balance that line, so we're not wasting our capital, but ordering the right amount for the people. And a lot of that comes down to how are we going to be able to operate to make those decisions. So again, having something a little clearer, I hope leading into the first, we'll get, a few more days heads up that for sure this is going to happen, and for sure this is going to be the operating guidelines that will go miles for us in the restaurant industry, into really understanding what sort of supplies do we need based on how we're going to be allowed to operate.
What makes this hard is because as a business owner, you don't plan day by day. You have to plan out in order to survive, but no one saw this coming. And for it lasting this long as well, I mean, think all the way back to last March. I remember it was originally like 2 weeks?
Yeah, a 2 week shutdown.
Boy, listen to that. And some of our government officials wonder why the members of the public don't have a lot of trust in them and what they're saying as well. So with that too, and the information is changing long term, what do you think this is going to do for business owners and restaurant owners such as yourself when it comes to employee staffing? Do you think some people are just going to leave the industry for good because of the uncertainty?
Yeah, I do. Both ownership, there's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to be lost through this. Definitely in the restaurant industry that I operate in the circles of people that I speak with. But definitely in the supply chains as well that feed the restaurants. We went out to Bozeman this past summer, Montana, and you would not believe the waste of potatoes that was going into landfills and being used for cattle feed, because with the nation shut down, no one was eating French fries anymore. You weren't going out to restaurant. Like, it impacts so many different things. And those people, right, there's going to be that many less potato farmers. There's going to be that many less farms. So not only is the restaurants themselves, but all the salespeople, all the industries that support the restaurant are going to be hugely impacted by this, because there will be restaurants that close. My understanding and what I've been hearing, and I do believe that we're going to be somewhere between a 30 and 40% loss of restaurants this year in the state of Michigan. That people just could not weather the tough times that we've had to deal with.
That is astounding. And it really is heartbreaking when you're driving down the road and you see so many businesses that have already closed due to the crisis and the pandemic. And with that, tell us more about some of the restaurants that you own. We know you have Fork and Pint in Waterford. What are your other restaurants, and what has worked for you during this pandemic?
Yes, we have 4 restaurants now, 2 different concepts. We have the Fork and Pint in Waterford on Cass Lake, and we have a Fork and Pint in downtown Lake Orion, the village of Lake Orion. We have an Irish Tavern. It's called Waterford Irish Tavern in Waterford, and we opened a new Irish Tavern in Madison Heights on March 2nd of last year. So that store didn't qualify for anything. It was not in business in 2009. It's been a challenge for us. Unfortunately, we've laid off 80% of our staff the second time around. We were hoping it was going to be a 2-week period. It has extended out, and it's been difficult for them. But for our survival and what we've been able to do to make the restaurants as strong as possible for when we are able to reopen and bring back 100% of the staff that we had prior to. Is really got engaged with the community. We saw the pivoting of our business to a takeout, which we had started in the spring, and set a lot of foundation that when the second time came around, we were able to add to and follow the successful items that we were offering and procedures that we were doing, that the community's really gravitated towards it and done well. We also have igloos and or tents at our various restaurants with heaters outside. Now, they're not, your house temperature. People come to them and like, oh, it's kind of chilly. I mean, the best we can do is get them about 15 degrees warmer than the outside, but you take the wind chill off, it's neat, it's exciting, and people are enjoying it. So we've really had to reposition some of the things we do in order to stay relevant with our community and stay in front of people. But one of the things my team came up with the second time around, knowing that people were hurting, was a help your neighbor, good neighbor program. They brought to me, stating, hey, let's feed the people that have a difficulty during this time. Let's offer them meals that they can just come in and pick up for free, which was a fantastic idea, but it's very scary to the owner as to how much am I going to be in for. Here we're cutting way back in our sales and laying people off, and yet now we're going to feed people for free. But they believed in our community. They said that the community would reach out and support us, that the monies that we earmarked that we would make available for this, anything additional, the community would reach out, and the community has been fantastic. People call in, they order food for themselves, they ask if they can buy a meal for someone else. People have sent in checks for the others. So all 4 of our stores offer this. We work with local groups that will come and pick up food daily for retirees and elderly that have difficulty getting out. So we have standing orders daily that ship out of each store to these volunteer groups that help distribute it, as the community had been so supportive. And what's nice is I know that when we open, we have an instant audience. We haven't been forgotten. We haven't been lost. People are sending us emails and commenting on our social media a lot as to when you reopen, we will be there for you. We appreciate what you're doing. And more than anything, I guess that makes us feel good about what we do. If we can stay alive, if we can come out of this thing whole, if we can engage our community and we can touch lives along the way doing it, I mean, that's the best you can hope for. And it helps you sleep and it keeps a smile on your face that you are appreciated during these tough times. Our staff has done just a fantastic job with these programs.
I love that you are doing the community program. It's really is amazing, but I think community is become the highlight of this pandemic. And one of the things by bringing people together and making those connections, because we've had to slow down to a degree during the crisis. And so community and our neighbors, that's what's important, and it's bringing us together. So that is the good thing. But you're also making a lot of these changes at a time when your revenue is not flowing like it once did. No. What's that adjustment been like?
Difficult. We right at the beginning, we had the ability and the thought, right? We addressed all our bankers, we addressed all our landlords, and asked and negotiated some breaks, some opportunities that the committed monies aren't going away, but the time of demand for those monies we've been able to extend to allow us to get a little stronger or to last this out. When the monies have been available from both the Oakland County grants, PPP money from, we were able to get involved and get some of those monies, which were additionally a help. And really the staff that we do have, putting forth the efforts to come in and make sure that we're here every day to provide into our community, it keeps our to-go going. It keeps our lights on, right? No, nobody in the restaurant industry is getting rich this year, or ever. It's a tough industry, but if you can come out whole, right? If you can just come out on the other side, able to fight tomorrow, that's the chance that we're all asking for, and being just a closure without those opportunities makes it very difficult to meet the challenges of tomorrow. So we all just want our chance to protect our community, to do right by our community, follow the steps as they are laid out as to safety protocol, but provide our services. And restaurants are so much more than just food. People say, what is your restaurant about? Tell me about. A restaurant is community driven, right? A restaurant is the charity events for the Little League softball teams, for the high school cheer groups, travel groups, for for so many things that happen. The community is what makes your restaurant and gives your restaurant the life that it is. Our part of it is giving people a place to gather, dine, and share their stories. And we all just look forward to that time when we have that opportunity to do that again.
I know that starting today, the employees are going to be able to start applying for some of those additional monies up to, I think it's like $1,600. And then I believe next week, some of that additional funding is going to be coming available to some of the restaurants up to $20,000. I look at some of these programs as a headline for the politicians, because them getting up there and saying this, because I think it's 44 million. When you look at the number of restaurants and employees and businesses, because it's not just restaurants, there's a list of other businesses as well, such as golf courses, water parks, some of these other activities and entities. 44 million is not going to go very far.
No, no, it isn't. The best scenario should be and could be, will be, is give the businesses the opportunity to operate in a safe capacity. We can make our own monies, right? That's what America was built on. We have that opportunity. We look forward to that. Any of the offerings they do provide definitely is a benefit. I'm not saying that, but sometimes the cart gets in front of the horse, and we get asked a lot. I've been in touch with my bankers about the next round of the PPPs, and they're like, our hands are tied. It's been printed in the paper, yes. It's being reported on TV, yes. But we have no direction, for us as to how to get that money out to you, what the application is, when the application period opens. So, yes, there is a lot of information out there coming, but it's not here yet. And it prints it like it is here. I hear all the time, but you're getting this, but you're getting, it's like, no, they talked about this, but there's no plan of distribution. There's no, so we do look forward to it. We appreciate it. It doesn't always go the way we read it in the paper. But in the long run, giving us the opportunity to make that income on our own and through our own efforts is really the best solution. Yet we just can't give away money forever. And I grant it. Some people need it for sure. We all need it, but we would rather make it on our own.
Isn't that the truth? And we have to remember too, it's taxpayer money. It's not always free money. We're paying it back at some point in time.
It gets paid back, and the future generations are gonna be surprised, I think, at what they're gonna be responsible for.
Well, Doug, we appreciate your time. I know that you're extremely busy with the 4 restaurants. Quickly though, I know that you had to make reservations for the igloos. How can people do that? Is it just a phone call, or do you do it online?
Yeah, it is phone call. Call in after 1 o'clock any day of the week. On the weekends, we open at noon, presently in the shutdown. We'll go back to normal hours or what we're allowed to when we can. But yeah, call the restaurant and make your reservation. And we are running, so about 7 to 10 days out. We get calls all day long for today. Is there something available tonight? And really, we're a good week to week and a half out in these reservations right now. So again, the whole shutdown is making all of us think farther ahead than we normally do in order to get to what what we're looking to get a hold of.
I barely know what I'm doing like this afternoon. How am I supposed to know what I'm doing next week?
Yeah, maybe a positive spin out of this whole thing is we all become a little bit better planners in life. I don't know.
Well, Doug, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate it.
And we wish you the best in 2021, and let's hope things turn around pretty quickly.
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. Still a lot to get to. When we return, we'll be speaking with the School of Music, Theater, and Dance, the voice professor over at Oakland University. This is the Megacast.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so. Those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
The only way to beat COVID-19 is to face it.
You can't get too comfortable.
You can't forget the danger.
Wear the mask.
Wear the mask.
Wear the mask. Wash your hands.
Keep a safe distance.
Especially in the next few months.
You know we'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
Someday.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But not yet.
But not yet.
Consider virtual gatherings for the holidays.
Curbside food orders.
Grocery delivery.
And shopping local. Shop local.
And especially shopping local.
Let's beat this virus. We can if we face it together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together.
Together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together. Together.
For the latest information, visit oakgov.com/COVID.
Great to have you with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl in my home studios while Mr. Tyler Keith holds things down for us back at the studios in West Bloomfield. Just as a quick reminder, if you are just tuning in for the first time, you can always catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon. You can also tune us in Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Civic Center TV, Channel 15 if you have Comcast, 99 if you have AT&T. You can also tune us into the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. We also want to say thank you to Oakland University for allowing us to live stream today's edition of the Megacast on their Facebook page. And with that, let's go ahead and head over to Oakland University. Dr. Alta Boover joins us. She's a voice professor for the School of Music, Theater, and Dance over at Oakland University. What a year of change for you and your students and your industry as well.
Yes, I mean, every industry, I listened into your last interview too. Fork and Pint is a restaurant in my neighborhood. I'm a block away. So I know we're not the only ones. We all have our unique challenges. Same storm, different boats, as they say, for sure.
But with that, we are starting to see some of the entities and industries reopen, but yet when it comes to live theater like we used to enjoy it, will we ever get back there?
I'm sure we will. I was really encouraged to hear Dr. Fauci come on the news to talk about Broadway in particular, and he said he thinks we'll be back to full capacity in theaters by the fall. My heart leapt when I heard that because if you can't Google singers without hearing like aerosol spread, biggest danger, we kind of have been called out for a number of disease spreading risks that we couldn't have possibly anticipated. So we really had to be pretty creative problem solvers in terms of training people, training the next generation of singers when we can't see their faces. It's challenging.
Right. And with that too, and are you in person right now, or are you still doing pretty much everything virtual?
Right now we're virtual, so I can see faces. I'm just not in the same room as the sound, so it's required a lot of technology shifts. We do go back to a hybrid approach at Oakland on Tuesday, assuming that there aren't any changes in the guidelines that we receive. So in that way, some classes in performing arts are considered labs that we can't do them virtually. So we are able to do them in person. That depends entirely on the professor's willingness to meet in person and on the students' willingness. We're not requiring that anybody work in person because I think we really are trying to respect everybody's autonomy and decision-making process as to what's right for them. We don't know everybody's living situation, if they're living with a family member that might be at risk or if they themselves are at risk.
Yeah, but when you're trying to teach in your genre, even with technology, it has to be so challenging because everyone has different technology, and audio is so important for what you do.
Yes, absolutely. And it required, when we all went online in March, I set up little 15-minute tech consults with my students, just say, okay, what are we working with, and try to find what we found to be very important. Where's their best signal? I have done voice lessons in people's mothers' shoe closets. I've done voice lessons with students in their garages. I mean, I have been everywhere. I've been in cars, just like it's the places you never expect to give a voice lesson, but happen to have the best internet. And we've also I have to say that the administration has been really supportive, making sure that our students have the gear that they need. So we have mics that you can check out to use for recordings and for your lessons, and webcams and computers and any kind of technology that the students might not be able to secure for themselves, we're making available for them to check out and use.
That is so great because it can get very costly
Yes.
as well, some of this equipment, and just even trying to get some of the equipment because everyone is working from home and in need of mics and webcams and things of that nature. So a lot of times they're not even on the shelves and available to buy. But with that, let's talk about performance. Any performances coming up?
Well, I have one. I've spent the last several months telling my students, this is your chance. Because we're such a live art form, classical singers, almost all of our performances are live. Very few are typically recorded. I'm an opera singer. I've very rarely seen myself on film. Everything that I perform disappears the moment after it's complete. And what I've tried to encourage my students to share their work. I mean, those of us who are performers, I think if you were to interview our families, they'd say, I wish I could see you. Because you're rarely doing these performances in your hometown or in a place where your families might see it. Now we have this opportunity. We're filming ourselves regularly, so share it. My students did this wonderful 12 days of Christmas. So for 12 days leading up to Christmas, they would share different videos of themselves performing at home, and we reached over 15,000 people doing that. We can't have 15,000 people in Varner Hall. So I thought that was such a gift. And on Saturday, in the interest of putting my money where my mouth is, I recorded a 20-minute operatic scene called Bon Appetit, wherein Julia Child bakes a chocolate cake. And I was going to do it live. Plans change. I did it in my kitchen. And I involved my family because there's nothing that I can do that doesn't involve my family at this point of our COVID journey. And so I made that recording, and I did the video editing, which was certainly a case of it was good to not know how much I didn't know about video editing before embarking on this project. But the premiere is tomorrow, Saturday, 8 p.m.
That is great. And when you say it involves your family, I sure hope you have like a 12-year-old.
I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old and a 5-pound dog.
Well, the 8-year-old and the 10-year-old, they get technology so much quicker and so much faster than what we do.
Oh my gosh. And I didn't know that a video editing technique could be cringy, but my 10-year-old, after viewing this performance that's happening tomorrow, said, "Mom, you use picture-in-picture too much. It's cringy." I was like, okay.
Thank you for that lesson. How long are you anticipating having to do these virtual performances?
I don't know. I'm glad you didn't say how long will we have to, because actually I think that a lot of this is going to stay. I think that it's going to be virtual performances and live performances, because one of the gifts of it is that it's really extended our reach. I have been teaching in classrooms all over the country. I can't typically, because I don't have the time. I don't have the time to give what I need to give to our OU students, to my community, and to travel and take part in these events around the country, but I can now. And at OU, we're having a fantastic event on February 6th with Eric Whitaker, who's a very famous choral composer, Stacy Gibbs, who's, again, people that we couldn't necessarily find time to introduce to our students because just they're geographically or schedule-wise not compatible, but we can get them here with our students. We can get out and be with other students. It's fantastic. So how long? Maybe forever, but how long until we're back in person? We are setting up an outdoor stage at OU. We're trying to move as many performances as we can outdoors so we can get people seeing live events again. We're really kind of, I think everybody, the whole team is doing a great job playing the hand that we're dealt, and hopefully in April, weather dependent, we've put on performances in the parking garage. October, as late as November, I was teaching in the parking garage part-time, and I loved it.
It definitely opens oneself up to creativity, right? And with that, how has this crisis and this pandemic opened up doors of opportunity for some of your students? Because it's not going to be business as usual, even once we're able to start to lift these restrictions.
Well, I think that typically our music students, we have so many performances at the School of Music, Theater, and Dance. Just the classes that you're involved in, the ensembles that you participate in as a music major, you are performing so much that you would rarely have the opportunity to look outside the school for performance opportunities. Whereas now I have had students participating in national competitions and placing and winning, and it's something that they wouldn't normally have time to do because they're committed to the performances that are happening in person. These rehearsals take time. There are extra rehearsals when you get closer to those performances, but now they're really kind of looking in our community and beyond for these opportunities because they miss it so terribly. And we are still performing at OU, but it opens up these little bits of time for them to take that initiative before graduating even, and I think that's been wonderful.
Well, Professor, I have a feeling that they enjoy having you teaching them because you seem like you're very fun and creative as well.
As long as you ask my students and not my children, yes.
Well, I'm sure that they'll be excited for you to be able to get back into the classroom as well.
We all are. We can't wait.
I know there's just nothing like a live performance.
It's true.
Well, we wish you the best of luck on your performance tomorrow. Have you already finished editing? You're good to go?
Yes, I have sent it on to our box office, and we would love to see anybody from your community there. All you have to do is you send an email to smtdboxoffice@oakland.edu. That's School of Music, Theater, and Dance, SMTD box office. And you get a link to the Zoom. You get the recipe for the chocolate cake so that you can bake it at home and enjoy it with your family. Have a festive night. And it's 20 minutes long.
20 minutes, a good length. I wish it came with the chocolate cake though.
Yes, already baked.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your time and the conversation as well.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we return, we'll be staying on the campus of Oakland University, continuing the conversation with more members of their team. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Perry tested positive for COVID-19. Emma was exposed to a friend who's positive. Willa's waiting on test results. After any contact with COVID-19, or if you test positive, stay home for at least 10 days. If you live with others, keep your distance and wear a mask. Help Michigan contain COVID-19. Visit michigan.gov/containcovid.
COVID-19 has caused many families to fall behind on finances and on groceries. But you're not alone. You shouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. MyBridges offers access to quality food and income assistance to help families across the state get the food support they need. It's easy to apply and easy to start shopping. Apply for services at michigan.gov/MIBridges. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for hanging out with us here on the Friday edition of the Megacast. It's January 15th, and as a reminder, if you're unable to catch the entire show today, you can always tune in to civiccentertv.com. And if you go ahead and click on the Megacast, you can watch full episodes of the Megacast, or you can also just click on the links for the individual email or interviews as well. With that, we're going to stay over at Oakland University and continuing the conversation now. Omar Brown-El, he's the Senior Director for the Center for Multicultural Initiatives for Oakland University. But I'm sitting here thinking, are you actually at the school right now, Omar, or are you at home?
Good morning. Good morning. I am on campus in my office this morning.
What's it like to be on campus? Does it feel good?
Oh, it certainly does. This is a very familiar and comfortable place for me. I've been at the university for 18 years now. And so I feel very at home being on campus whenever I get a chance to get here.
So have you had to teach or work remotely during the pandemic at any point in time?
Yeah, so it's been intermittent. I've been on campus. There have been times where I was working from home given our circumstances. But whenever I get a chance to be on campus, I've done so. But so even as recently as the beginning of the winter semester, there are certain times when I'm working from home. but I'm in the office today and have been so for this week.
Well, that's good. I know that some of the students will be returning as well. For those not familiar with the work there at the center, fill us in on what you do.
Yeah, so here at Oakland University, the Center for Multicultural Initiatives works directly with students, particularly our underrepresented students on our campus, providing resources and support services for their academic success, but also for them to be successful in their development here at Oakland University. And so in terms of the academic support, we provide students with leadership opportunities that they can become mentors or ambassadors for our office. There are also opportunities for students to receive financial assistance in terms of scholarships and money for books and things like that. We also provide the university with diversity programming and training and other myriad of services that are offered through our department. But what we do is connect students with resources and give them opportunities to be successful here at the university.
And so much about what you do is about building relationships as well. How has that changed in the middle of the pandemic?
Oh, well, we pride ourselves on being very personable with our students. And prior to the pandemic, where we were then forced to be in a more virtual space, it has given us an opportunity to connect with our students online. But that certainly changes in terms of the personal connection when you get to see students and laugh with them and kind of be in their space. We don't get the same sort of interaction in the virtual space. And so it's different. And the students are challenged, we're challenged in that regard, but we certainly are making it work with our interactions. We've been very creative using some of our social media platforms, inviting students to meetings, holding discussions that we would normally do in person, but we're now doing it virtually. And the students, some of that is their space. And I think we as professionals, at least for myself, I'm learning about a lot more of the social media and opportunities that are available virtually and online.
So I'm thinking back to, I used to do recruiting at my previous job, and just that regular recruiting fair, the job fairs, where you would have so many students come through, and it's those conversations. And maybe if you didn't have something for them, you'd say, hey, check with that person who's right there. Those events have gone away, but then it is somewhat easier to reach people because the time constraints aren't there as well. So they don't have to drive to the university. You can just sit at home in your pajamas.
Yeah, so there's certainly more students who are connecting with our office because we're virtual and they don't have to necessarily schedule an appointment. They can interact with videos or other platforms that we put together where they have opportunities to learn more or engage with us or some of our student staff. But that's an opportunity, I think, that we learned as an advantage as a result of being virtual and having to look at things from a different lens.
So what's it been like for some of the freshman students coming into the university for the first time?
Yeah, so I think when students are in high school, they have this image of college and, what it's expected to be. And, some of the non-academic things that they're participating in, just some of the welcome week activities and, athletic events and other things and student organizations. And, they're looking for opportunities to get involved. And they've always thought about that as they were planning to go away to college. And so some of that is absent, certainly in the physical and in the present form where they can involve themselves. So I think first year students, freshmen who've come to the university, that was altered, but they've certainly had opportunities through other platforms to engage. The university has been very attentive to first year students in that way, trying to provide them with a college experience so that they can, say, my first year, it was challenging. We were in a pandemic. but I was still able to get a college sense and a college feel during my first year.
Yeah, so because so many of those situations have been removed and those organic opportunities to meet people and to find new friends and kind of get into that groove have gone away, do you find that your services are more needed or more valuable right now?
Certainly, because I think students are looking for connections, right? And like you mentioned in that organic form where, I mean, we still have a number of students who are living on campus, and so they're getting some of that, but not that complete feel. And so certainly as we, program and look for ways to engage with students, we have that in the back of our minds as an opportunity to make their time here at the university one that is memorable, but one so that is also as organic and is giving them opportunities to connect with other students as well as with professionals on campus.
So it has been a challenging time, and there are some students that are considering maybe not going to college right now until they can get back to that experience, or maybe they're deciding to live at home and live remotely. But there is also that discussion with the parents and the cost of college. But there are a lot of scholarships for students out there. Do you want to talk about some that are available through your program?
Certainly. That's one of the ways that we help students on campus, is providing them with financial resources. And a scholarship is no better way to do that for students who need some additional assistance paying for the university expenses. And so we've set up programs for students who experience shortfalls in terms of paying for their university tuition and housing, that students can receive and apply for scholarships directly from our office. One in particular is our retention scholarship for students who need additional assistance. And that is an application process where students get immediate responses based on where they currently are and what resources they need. One additional scholarship that we're very proud of, that we're getting ready to have a celebration this coming Monday, is our Keeper of the Dream Scholarship, where students receive annually up to $5,000 scholarship for supporting sponsors in terms of their academic performance and their efforts to improve race relations on our campus. And so annually that scholarship is made available to students. And we, over the years, 29 years now, we've awarded well over 100 scholarships to deserving students at the university.
And that money can be so needed right now, because there are a lot of families that are struggling due to the pandemic. And with that, what advice would you give to students when they apply for some of these scholarships? And is there a limit to how many scholarships they can apply for?
Well, I think that certainly their academic performance is one precursor. And so oftentimes scholarships are available to students based on their grade point average. But I also think their community involvement is equally as important, whether it's in their immediate community or the on-campus community, that adds some depth to their scholarship application. And so it's very competitive. There are multiple students who are looking for awards. And so to try to stand out where their activity beyond the classroom is equally as important in terms of their application to certain scholarships. And so I would just encourage family members and students alike, as they're looking for opportunities to pay for their education, particularly through scholarship, that they focus on their academics and obtaining a high grade point average, but they also include some of their activities that they're involved in that gives them an opportunity to stand out amongst other applicants.
Yeah, it can be hard to make yourself appear unique when it comes to some of the scholarships and applying for them. But I would imagine too, it's really important for them to tailor their experience and their letter writing to that particular scholarship. This isn't something where one letter can kind of fit every scholarship that's out there that they're applying for.
Oh, certainly. You want to personalize it. A cookie cutter approach doesn't necessarily make you stand out as a particular student. And so you want to personalize those messages. If it's a a certain area that is they're emphasizing in the application process, you want to highlight, students want to highlight the areas that directly speak to diversity or their community involvement or their athletic performances or whatever it is that gives them a leg up in the application process. And that is really what I was explaining about just their non-academic performance and the things that they're involved in really highlights and separates them when they're in that application process.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. With that, Omar, before we let you go, anything that we didn't touch on in the interview that you want to share?
We're excited for our annual Keeper of the Dream Scholarship Award celebration event. We've hosted this event on Oakland University's campus for the past 28 years. This is the 29th annual, and we're planning to virtually celebrate on Monday, January 18th, with the premiere of our scholarship video at 11:30. And so we're hoping that folks would join us or at least view the video this year through an Oakland University YouTube channel. We're excited about it. There are a number of students who've received the award, and we're certainly looking forward to celebrating with them this upcoming Monday.
Well, our congratulations to all of them, and also thank you for being so dedicated to the students.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. Still a lot to get to in the second hour of the show.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
The only way to beat COVID-19 is to face it.
You can't get too comfortable.
You can't forget the danger.
Wear the mask. Wear the mask.
Wear the mask. Wash your hands.
Keep a safe distance.
Especially in the next few months.
You know we'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
Someday.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But not yet.
But not yet.
Consider virtual gatherings for the holidays.
Curbside food orders.
Grocery delivery.
And shopping local. Shop local.
And especially shopping local.
Let's beat this virus. We can if we face it together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together.
Together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together. Together.
For the latest information, visit oakgov.com/COVID.
Megacast, I'm Ronnie Dahl, Mr. Tyler Keith holding things down back at the studios in West Bloomfield. We are kicking off the second hour with Michele Hodges. She's the president for the Belle Isle Conservancy. So many people, Michele, are getting out and enjoying our parks because we've been cooped up. We can't go to the places we normally go. How are things going for Belle Isle? Has it been extremely busy?
For certain, we've absolutely seen that, Ronnie. We normally get about 4 million people a year to visit the park, and we're expecting once the numbers are in for 2020 and 21, it's going to be much higher than that. And in fact, we recently joined the Park RX platform, which recognizes exactly what I think you were just illuminating, is that your parks are good for your mental health, and it is one of the safe things that you can do in a pandemic.
The beautiful thing that I've witnessed over the past few years, the improvements that have been coming to the park. I know there was a lot of controversy back when the state leased the park from the city of Detroit and the DNR took over, but it looks beautiful. Do you want to talk about some of the improvements?
We're in a continuous and constant improvement mode thanks to all the partners that we have, and it continues to be our City of Detroit Park too, right? They are an important part of our solution as well, and absolutely the state of Michigan has brought many resources to the table, as has the foundation community and our donors. So even during the pandemic, it's actually given us the luxury, because some of the buildings have been closed, to do some additional improvements that you can't do when you're open. So we're excited to have folks back at the aquarium because we've had a number of new tank exhibits installed and other physical improvements. The fish miss everybody. In fact, I know your previous guest was a representative of Oakland University, and one of our aquarists is an award-winning OU alum, Amanda Murray, and she is so wonderful with our fish. She sings to them, and she assures me that they miss our public. So we can't wait to reopen the doors. And it's the same with the conservatory. The Dawsons had some improvements underway. So we're ready for everybody.
Well, I think that when the aquarium reopens to the public, you should have a concert.
Oh, do you know something that I was going to share with you today?
No, I don't, but I was just thinking if she's singing to the fish, maybe a concert would be good. But
yeah, that's a fabulous idea. I could send you some little video to show you how good she is. She'll do the whole Ariel under the sea thing, and it's pretty magical. But we have Drummer B doing a live stream on January 28th. So our aquarium is hip and cool. Albert Kahn would be proud.
That is awesome, because behind the scenes, what is it like day to day to try to keep coming up with new things and new events to keep people entertained? Because by this time we are all so zoomed out.
We love it because it forces you to be creative, right? And it forces you to summon all of your resources. So if the community were to visit our website, which I hope they will, belleisleconservancy.org, you'll find Belle Isle Bingo. These are all things that are new since the pandemic. We've taken all of our field trips that we do in partnership with Detroit Public Schools and Hamtramck Schools, Highland Park Schools, and we've put some of those on our website, and they're award-winning. We have virtual tours of the aquarium. So one is of our collection. So come meet all of our you can actually say, here, fishy, come visit. And you can also learn more about the history and architecture of the aquarium. So there's a Chutes and Ladders game on our website. You can learn about nature through some DNR programming. There's a Misha trivia game. So that's been the fun part. We have new partnerships with Great Lakes Now. So on Fridays, we do some Facebook live streaming. And of course now, Drummer B, sort of on the other end of the spectrum, right? And he's awesome because he's launching his Age of Aquarius album. And what better place to do that if you're an Aquarius in the aquarium?
That is awesome. Who put that together? Because that's fabulous.
I just have the coolest team, and they know everybody. And the aquarium's lovable, so people want to be there. So we're really grateful to Drummer B because he's going to raise money too.
So what is the status when it comes to being able to hold events or weddings at the park? Was that on hiatus? And if so, is it going to return in the summertime?
Oh, we're hoping. We don't have official word from the DNR on that yet. They're, of course, adhering to all of the governor's directives that have been rendered. So the only buildings on Belle Isle that are open presently is the Dawson Great Lakes Museum. You can participate in the rowing program at the Belle Isle the Belle Isle Boathouse. Certainly the Detroit Yacht Club has some programming available, but for the most part, the physical facilities are closed. With that said, if you are within the realm of the existing directives, you can do an outdoor event in that. So we're hoping maybe by April to have more clarity on when we can start reserving those spots again, because it is a really important part of the Detroit community, and people thankfully want to use Belle Isle to celebrate those most important life's moments. So we're hoping to have that information soon.
It's a beautiful backdrop, but it does make it hard for planning purposes because brides don't like to go, moment by moment. So it can be a challenge.
No, they can't, for sure. So we're juggling.
So with that, it seems like we've had a pretty mild winter so far. Does that help increase the number of people coming to visit the park?
I think so. I even know myself, I'll ride my bike down Jefferson Avenue to get there, and I've been able to continue to do that throughout the winter time here and get on the island and encircle it. We've been able to do some of our projects. So, to more thoroughly answer your question there, MDOT has resurfaced many of the roads. The Iron Bell Trail is going in. It's this lovely weaving trail traversing parts of the park. So yes, I'm sure it's contributing to our numbers, but I really hope even in the bitter cold, people see Belle Isle as a four-season park. You can skate, you can snowshoe, you can bike, as I said, walk, run, get in a snowball fight. I would have loved to have done that with my brothers, go nail them with a few snowballs. And I'll do that in a beautiful, beautiful natural setting. So even if it were super cold, I'd say, come on down.
It's funny, I was cleaning out the basement and I found our snowball makers. So maybe I need to find some kids to give those to.
I don't know. I heard you say plural makers. I'll meet you down there.
We'll have to do it one day. Hey, will we be seeing the Grand Prix return this year?
Yes, we will. Yes, in fact, just this morning, I was emailing with our team and, hearing from our chairs from General Motors. They've been such wonderful supporters of ours. So yes, the Grand Prix will be on the island in June over 2 weekends. And we're excited about that because they believe in the park, they support the park and the park benefits as a result of that public-private partnership. So yes, and the HydroFest races are coming as well later in the summer. So we're starting to see morsels of normalcy coming, which is, I think, a much welcomed respite from this pandemic for everybody.
Very much so. And what's the status of volunteers? Because I know that, volunteers are such a vital part of helping to keep the park beautiful and, glowing as well. Have volunteers been able to return to the park?
You have such good questions, Ronnie. You really understand how our cultural institutions and natural spaces like Belle Isle function. And our volunteers are our heartbeat. We would not be where we are without our volunteers, and they perform so many essential functions, whether it's as a docent at the conservatory or a guide at the aquarium, or they build our exhibits at the aquarium, or they pull out invasive species, or they pull trash out for us. They're essential. So certainly some of those functions have been waylaid, but we've been connecting with them via Zoom and that sort of thing and having fun and keeping their stake up in that regard. But others, I was just marveling over people over the summer when we were dealing with trash and, in the throes of the pandemic, the scariest time, and they would come up to the table just with their hands full of the most awful things, maybe an old baby diaper or something, and just have a smile on their face because they're happy to help Belle Isle and the park that they love. So yes, our volunteers in some capacity continue to serve the island.
It really is a gem in the middle and in the heart of Detroit.
And when you go out to that lighthouse and you realize that you are in an urban area, you really understand how important that island is because you have no idea that's where you are. You hear the waves lapping, you're in the meadow, you see the trees, you have no cognizance that there are skyscrapers within a short drive. So you're right, and it's architecturally significant, it's historically significant. There's something for everybody. Our forest is historic. It was created by the glaciers. It's rare. Detroit eagles. We have eagles. Detroit Audubon does its tours, bird watching. There's more than 200 species that use Belle Isle. So it's not hyperbole to say there's something for everybody.
That is so, it is really a beautiful escape per se. When I worked in Detroit, I would often go there for lunch just to sit outside and enjoy the sunshine and look at the trees. And it's such a beautiful view, across the river there. So with that, Michele, before we let you go, if people want to find out more about some of the events that you have going on, or maybe even if they want to volunteer, how can they do that?
BelleIsleConservancy.org. We're also very active on social media, Facebook, Instagram. I think you'll enjoy, and in multiple venues too. Be sure you join the Anna Scripps Whitcomb Conservatory Facebook page too. Jeremy Kemp is awesome about putting up beautiful photography. So through social media and our website, and we'll take you right away. We'd love to, we need financial support as well. And there's many opportunities to do that. We have quite a big lift in order to keep preserving and protecting this beautiful place we know as Belle Isle. So however people can help, we're very grateful.
Hey, so you did mention earlier about some of your partnerships with the companies in the Detroit and Metro Detroit area. How has it changed through the year? Because it can be hard to try to fundraise for some of the money that you need when companies are struggling right now as well.
It certainly can be, and I really need to salute our corporate community, because even though our largest fundraiser, the Grand Premiere, in partnership with the Grand Prix, did not happen, many of those sponsors stayed at the table. I think it shows the power and commitment and the responsible stewardship that our corporate community has. Whether it's DTE or General Motors or Blue Cross Blue Shield, they're right there with us, and we're so grateful for that. So the challenge in 2021 will be keeping them at the table and making sure that we're honoring our commitment to them, which is to do our job and do it very well and give them meaningful opportunities to reach their customers.
Well, thank you so much for all that you do, and please extend our gratitude to your team members as well. For anyone who hasn't been to Belle Isle recently, you really need to go, because it's just a gem and such an escape. You forget that you're in the middle of Detroit.
And we'd love to have them, and I'd love to go on a bike ride or walk with them as well. So just let me know.
We will, and I will say, if we get another snowfall, I'm going to call you and we're going to have a snowball fight.
That would be so much fun.
It has to be the right snow, though.
You're right, real packable, right? I'll bring the hot chocolate too.
There you go. Well, Michele, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
You take care.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this quick break. Thank you.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Perry tested positive for COVID-19. Emma was exposed to a friend who's positive. Willa's waiting on test results. After any contact with COVID-19, or if you test positive, stay home for at least 10 days. If you live with others, keep your distance and wear a mask. Help Michigan contain COVID-19. Visit michigan.gov/contain-COVID.
Welcome back to the Megacast. Time is up for quite a few students. The governor did recently announce that she is encouraging all school districts to return to some type of in-person learning by March 1st. So to talk a little bit more about that, we're going to bring in Dr. James Schwartz. He's the superintendent for Avondale School District. Thank you for being with us.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
PJ days are gone.
Well, for some, we're moving into a period of, as you mentioned, regarding the governor's recommendations by March 1st, we're moving into a hybrid situation that we're offering folks that want to be back in seat. So that hybrid would involve being in person for partial of the week, while still remaining remote for the other part of the week. And of course, we still maintain the option for those who don't want their children back yet in seat at all with a complete remote option. So we're offering both as we're moving forward.
How does this work with the teachers? Because it seems like they must be working 24/7 right now to try to be able to satisfy both of those groups, the remote and the in-person.
So yeah, so it is a little bit more in the way of work and work simultaneously because you've got students that are in seat and you also have students that are at home at the same time. So that does become a logistical challenge for teachers. While we have half the group that's in seat during that time, the other half of the class is at home working on asynchronous types of tasks and receiving at that time their intervention support or social work support or those types of things. So we try to cluster activities and services throughout the day that pairs with the teacher's schedule as best as possible so that the students are engaged all day, but not necessarily having to have that teacher with them all day.
I'm thinking the logistics that went into trying to make this happen. You had to have lost so many nights of sleep over this.
Yeah, logistically, it gets quite complicated when you're looking at everybody's schedules. And then of course, particularly at the secondary level, you've got all different types of certifications. So you've got teachers that can only teach certain types of classes. And then you pair that in the mix. It's a huge Rubik's Cube.
I was never good at that growing up. So I hope you were like one of the quick and the fast ones because it continues to change as well. So just when you think you're getting a plan in place, you could be thrown another curveball.
Yeah, that's the thing about this whole COVID environment is always expect the unexpected. It's a very fluid environment and having to shift on the fly and move to different types of paradigms has been something that we've had to get used to, unfortunately.
So how does this work when it comes to taking attendance? If a child signs up and they want to go back to hybrid, do they have to commit to that? Or if maybe one day they don't want to go to in-person, can they stay at home? How does that work?
So we're asking families to commit to one or the other. And so you're coming back or you're staying remote. You have to pick one, for the remainder of the school year. And so, attendance is taken in both of those venues per your choice. We're not setting up a system where folks are free to come in seat one day and stay remote the next, or gee, this week I want to be in seat and next week I'm going to be remote because that's what fits my schedule. It's too disruptive and it's too difficult to contend with to have people just coming and going as they please. So we're asking folks to have to make a commitment.
I also read a recent article where they were talking about how many students that really no one seems to know where they are because districts have lost so many students during this. Have you been able to try to track some of your students and is enrollment down? And do you anticipate if you get back to full in-person, those numbers will get back to where they were pre-pandemic?
So we are down in our district. We're down about 129 students from where we were in the fall of 19, and that was to be expected. All districts I think around us have seen a decline somewhat in enrollment as folks have ventured off to get in-seat instruction perhaps at a parochial school or some other private institution. And they may return, once we're back in seat. We're counting on we know of a few that said when you're back in seat, we'll be back. So I anticipate getting some of that enrollment back. We do have some students that I'll say, as you're alluding to, that are so-called missing students that were unaccounted for. And we've been reaching out to those families and trying to get a sense of, where are you at? Where, are you attending a different institution? And, there's still a few families we haven't been able to reach. because their numbers are no longer valid or what have you. But we've done a fair amount of work to try and reach families that on our records were unaccounted for at the start of the school year.
I think about some of these kids that are being homeschooled right now. I'm so happy that was not an option when I was growing up.
It's difficult, and we do feel for the families, in terms of trying to contend with being at home and being an instructor in your home, as well as trying to work from home in your own job and trying to balance all of that. We know it's been extremely difficult. And that is why we have a lot of families who are clamoring to get back into some sense of normalcy with being back in seat.
So when you start the hybrid model, what does this mean for like some of the extra activities? Are you bringing those back to in person, or will those remain virtual?
So it'll be a mix. We're going to have in-seat activities, extracurriculars that'll occur. After hours, of course, athletics is resuming. So that is great. And we have teachers that'll be offering activities remote as well. So for those that are staying remote, there'll be activities to stay there, or if you're remote and you want to come in at after hours to an activity, that'll be available too. So it'll be a mix of we're trying to make it to whatever is desired.
So with that too, how confusing has this been? Because you have the governor is suggesting this, but yet you're also relying on information from the county as well to try to come up with these plans. And I know that the guidelines have changed as well.
Yes, guidelines have changed. So one of the major variables that districts were using was the Oakland County Health Department's risk chart. That was a degradation of scale from A to E, and it was based on the number of cases per million and healthcare hospital capacity. There was about 15 or so metrics that led to that score of an A to an E. And that scale now, the MDHHS has indicated that they're no longer using that scale for purposes of school closures or remote versus in-seat decision making. So, and that was a major variable that districts were using. So now, we're more or less reliant on our own local cases, looking at our local geographics and making that determination amongst ourselves versus a countywide portrait of evaluation. So it's forced us more into looking at our own locales for that decision making.
Well, and a lot of the school districts have said all along that they knew that the schools weren't necessarily where the spread was coming from. It was happening outside of the school building. But with that, I know that a lot of districts are also struggling with getting substitutes or even having enough teachers. So are you concerned with some of the teachers maybe coming back with more being, engaging more with some of the students that some could get COVID and then you have to start this quarantine process again?
So that was the concern that largely kept us remote for the duration that we were, because of the fact of staffing. Because as you alluded to, the spread in schools, the research is showing that it's relatively low risk, and there's more and more research that's coming out that confirms that schools are relatively low risk for spread. But the issue is with the volume of the cases that we were seeing, particularly in our surge in late fall, in November, what that was doing was, because of the number of cases that we had in the county, we had so many people that were forced to quarantine because either they were positive themselves or they were exposed to somebody who was positive, that to proceed with staffing was extremely difficult. And the substitute pool right now is at an all-time low. We cannot get substitute teachers. They're just not available like they once used to be. The well is quite dry. And so if you're running an in-seat program and your teachers are having to quarantine, it's forcing you to interrupt your instruction and go remote. And we didn't want to get caught in this, well, we're in-seat instruction for 2 weeks and then we're forced to go remote because the teacher's got to quarantine or half the class has to quarantine. Now, the numbers in the county are such that we're not at the levels that we used to be. So by sheer volume, we sense that won't be as large of a risk factor that we would have those staffing issues. Do we expect to have some? Yeah, we expect to have some, but certainly not to the extent that we would have had trying to do in-seat at the height of the surge.
So with that, this has to be difficult to try to explain to parents as well, because we still see statewide restaurants are still closed for indoor dining, but yet we're saying, hey, let's come back to the classroom. So what's it been like for you as the superintendent trying to get this message across to the parents?
Yeah, it's been extremely difficult, because folks generally don't get it. They don't get why, how can you have athletics and not have school? So there's a lot of comparing and contrasting, and you've got to look at each program, each type of situation differently. And of course, we're getting guidance, that gives us different guidance for athletics than we get guidance for in-class instruction. And so the guidance that we're given, it often conflicts with each other, which makes it difficult for us. But, when you're evaluating, small groups and social distancing and being masked and the protocols that surround things like athletics are much different than what they can be in a classroom. And so, that's why different rules have existed for different types of things. And for parents, it's been extremely difficult and to explain it is hard. And you got some folks who just don't want to hear you because
Yeah, you add that into the mix as well.
Right.
So obviously 2021, we're all hopeful this year because of the vaccine. Have you and members of your team been offered the vaccine yet?
So we have many folks, teachers and staff around the district that have appointments. Some have fulfilled their vaccinations. Some have appointments that are coming up to get those vaccinations. We know that the volume of vaccinations are way under what was expected to be at this point, and we're being promised that more and more vaccinations are coming for folks to be able to get. So I think we'll see that certainly ramped up in the next few weeks. That most of our staff, by the beginning of March, even by mid-March, should be availed plenty of opportunity to get their vaccination.
So Dr. Schwartz, 2021, did you even make a New Year's resolution?
Well, we're just taking it day by day. We do think that certainly the things certainly seem on an upward trajectory, and we certainly are hopeful that full-time instruction and normalcy as we once knew it. We're optimistic for the fall that hopefully we'll be at that point come the new school year.
I'm sure we'll talk to you again before the end of the school year, but any plans as of right now about some of those end of the year celebrations, such as graduation?
So we are beginning to look at planning like graduation ceremonies. We are looking at our having them on site in our football stadium. That is in the planning right now. Prom is still a big question mark because prom is like a total defiance of social distancing just by the nature of prom. So prom probably will be something that will be a little more difficult, but honors convocations, graduations, yeah, we're looking at moving forward with those things. Now, whether honors convocations are virtual or not, it's going to depend on how the next few months go. But we'd love to do an in-person graduation, and we think that if things go on the trajectory they are, we should not have a problem with that come the end of May. So.
It really does seem like it's, plan for the worst, but hope for the best.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly that's what it's been.
Well, we definitely hope 2021 is a bit better and a bit calmer as well, because I could only imagine the amount of hours that you guys have put in trying to navigate this crisis. So thank you again to your team, and here's to a better 2021.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for having us.
Happy New Year. Dr. James Schwartz with us. He's with the Superintendent for Avondale School District. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
Or blue. But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Welcome back to the Megacast. We're going to keep the conversation around education going, because every school district is different, and that is also making this challenging for a lot of parents as well. So joining us now, we're going to bring in Patrick Watson. He's the superintendent for Bloomfield Hills School District. Great to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
So bring us up to speed. The governor is hoping that all the school districts have some type of in-person learning by the 1st of March. Where does your district stand right now?
Well, kind of going backwards first, we phased our students back into in-person learning back in September. And so by the first week of October, we were pre-K through 26 back in person. And we'll be returning K-8 on the 19th of January. On the 25th, our International Academy students will go back. And then on February 1st, our high school students will be back. Now it will be a hybrid version. So we'll kind of reduce the density in our buildings, but we will be at a full return by February 1st of this year.
So I believe that before, and I apologize because we have talked with so many different districts. Now, before, were you also offering where some of the students could either come to class or be virtual? They got to pick?
Correct. So at the high school level, we're using a concurrent model where students have the opportunity to come in when it's their cohort day, or they can Zoom in. And one of the benefits of that was making sure our students were able to have all Bloomfield Hills High School teachers, and then keeping their schedule. I mean, so much has been taken from all of our students, pre-K all the way to 26 this year. It was really imperative based on the survey results. The number one thing our students wanted at the high school level was the ability to keep their current class schedule, if nothing else. And so our teacher group, kind of came forward and said, you know what? We've never been trained in this. We have no idea what it's going to look like. We don't know if it's going to work. We have no idea. But we're willing to give it a try because we know it's what our students really want. And so the teachers have done just an amazing job trying to teach in person, online, with one hand behind their back, a blindfold over their mask, sound coming, like all these things, and take care of their own family in the middle of a pandemic, by the way. So, huge kudos to all of our teaching staff at all the grade levels for just really stepping outside of the box and being willing to experiment and try things. And I think people are kind of forgetting we've asked that of our teachers. And then not only have we asked it, we said, by the way, you're going to have an audience online that might include parents as you try to figure out and navigate doing something you've never been trained to do, they might be watching also. But will you still do it? Do you mind? And just to see, our teaching staff say, you know what, we'll try it. We might fail miserably, but we'll try anything that's going to help kids. And, what a great group of professionals I'm surrounded with. And I'm really thankful for that every day.
It really kind of reminds me of how I cook. Just throw it up against the wall and see what sticks, right?
Right,
If it
exactly.
sticks, you can eat it. Okay, let's move on. But really, it does offer them a lot of freedom, because prior to the pandemic, some teachers felt like they weren't able to really teach the way they wanted to because of the mandates and those standardized testing, and you have to do this and you have to do that. So this is really bringing some freedom back into the classroom.
Well, yes and no, right? Because I taught in the classroom for 16 years. Definitely want the freedom, but I want the freedom to be in person and to be safely in person and structure my classroom that way. Not do it online and in person, or just online. So it's kind of stripped a little bit of those barriers, but I don't feel the staff would say they really have the freedom they want to kind of instruct how they feel is necessary, because we've kind of told them, you're at home or you're in person, you get half the kids half a day with a mask on and it's shield and fun, and don't get too close and don't do this and don't do that. Well, we've created different barriers in their minds compared to the ones that existed.
But they do get to be a bit more creative in how they're trying to reach their kids.
Correct.
And have a little bit more fun with it, because I think everyone has learned during 2020, the old is just that old. You have to try new things.
Right. I love, popping in some of the classrooms and seeing like the Bitmojis they put together and things like that. And just the creativity with using technology to educate students. And it's become more of just part of the class, and it's the way we operate, as opposed to, okay, we're using technology right now. We've done technology, now we're moving on.
And I will say, I bet some of the older teachers that didn't even know what an emoji was prior to this, they're probably getting some pretty cool points with their grandkids.
Oh, I would imagine so. Yeah. Everyone's becoming a techspert in a hurry, to say the least. Quick learning curve there.
Right. And so with that, it's a different year, 2021, and we have the vaccine now. Where do your team members stand in line of getting the vaccine? I know that you're in the phase right now, but have you been able to start getting some of those?
We've been very fortunate. A lot of our staff members were able to get in and schedule an appointment before the portal got overrun, shut down, because there was no longer availability. That's great. Also, when the Oakland County Health Division gave out additional information about signing up for a wait list, we were able to get that correspondence from Oakland County Health Division out to our staff within probably 10 or 15 minutes, so that they can sign up for the wait list, which as of yesterday, my understanding was there are over 80,000 people on that. So we're looking forward to more vaccine becoming available. I had an opportunity after the board meeting last night to listen to President-elect Joe Biden and his expectations for getting the vaccine out. I know Governor Whitmer was able to get, I believe, 100,000 additional doses that are being sent to the state of Michigan. But we've reminded our staff to keep in mind that 75% of all the doses that come into the county are going to go to those that are 65 and older. So for the 1B people that we're part of, and we're only one part of it, we only have access to what is going to amount to 25% of all the different for all the vaccines that come in. So that makes it a little concerning how long it might take, but we're cautiously optimistic that more will come in and we'll get it done sooner as opposed to later.
So on top of this, the challenges as more students return to the buildings, we do know that in previous times when they switch classes, there are those pinch points that are in the school buildings themselves, and it can't really be avoided. How are you going to address some of those issues and trying to keep the students socially distant from one another?
Right. So K-5, we've kind of set it up so there's half days, and that kind of allows one group to come in, one group to go. We've been able to cohort them so they don't really have to transfer between different classes. 6 through 8, we have spots where they wait outside, so when one group, 6, 7, 8, there's also different transition times. So they only have one grade level in the hallway at a time. Then they have a spot to stand on before one group exits, and another group comes in. And then 9 through 12, we made one-way hallways. And with the ability, first of all, we divided the school up into alphabetical by half. And so each cohort, half the student population could come into the building. Of that half, we're seeing maybe a half to a quarter actually show up, and the rest are still zooming in, even though they could come in. And then we've also created 4 lunches, as opposed to lunch periods, as opposed to 3. And then you're looking at about 30% of the school population in the building, now divided out over 4 lunches. In 300,000 or whatever square foot building, there's a lot of room, an opportunity for students to spread out.
What goes into trying to figure out the logistics of making this a reality?
A lot of teamwork, a lot of time, and then just continually going through the scenarios. We've also been very fortunate to be able to collaborate with schools from Michigan, nationally and internationally, about some of their best practices, and take little pieces of information from them and implement it to kind of come up with our own program that's going to work best for us.
Yeah, how important has it been for you to be able to connect with other superintendents across not only the state of Michigan, but the country during this time?
It's been great. I mean, we also have some international partners from Israel, South Korea, Japan, Canada, and Denmark that have really been helpful in just kind of sharing information from as little as, when students go out for recess, everyone exits out one door, and then you come in a different door, and there's hand sanitizer at both spots, so that you're not commingling as you're going in and out. Just little details like that. So we've built a lot of relationships that way, and everyone's trying to learn at the same time. No one's an expert on responding to COVID, and so those partnerships have been very valuable. We're also fortunate to have a great team with our district administrators that are incredible leaders that are continually looking at ways we can improve what we're already doing.
So a lot of the focus has been on the students during this crisis, but I also wonder about the teachers and the concern about burnout amongst some of your employees during this time. What are you doing for them to try to keep them mentally stable during this time, and for them to be able to keep that enthusiasm up to get through the crisis?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is we're trying to listen to our staff and respond to what they need based on the feedback instead of trying to guess what they're going to need. The transitions are very, very difficult for our staff and for our students. We come out in person, not in person. So one of the things we had early on that we approved in August was if we had to close schools, and we had a threshold where we would close schools, and we did in November, that we wouldn't go back in person without a 21-day wait. Now that's no longer what we're doing because we know more about COVID, right? We also see the thresholds have been taken off from the Oakland County Health Division. The governor no longer is looking at the 4 phases. But things like that, hearing our staff say, we can't be 1 day in the building, 2 days at home, 3 days, we can't yo-yo back and forth. It's too much of a lift. And putting those mechanisms in place to support. We've got a great relationship with our educational association, our union group, meeting with them all the time and just getting feedback from them on where they're at, what they need. Again, instead of us trying to guess the best way to meet the needs of our staff.
So we are still in the middle of this crisis, and here in the state of Michigan, we're still under a lot of restrictions. So do you get concerned that we'll see another surge and that some of your employees will have to go back into quarantine to the point that you'll have to shut down some of the classrooms?
That's absolutely a concern that we all have in Oakland County. And so we're trying to make sure we follow all the mitigation strategies that are out there and be as cautious and careful as possible. That's why, we're so hopeful that more vaccines are going to come in. I'm optimistic they will, because we do have a lot of staff members that do want the opportunity to get the vaccine. And that would provide another layer of protection for them, right? And so that's the goal, in making sure that they have that opportunity.
Patrick Watson with us here on the Megacast. He's the superintendent for Bloomfield Hills School District. I would imagine 2021 is a little bit easier for you, though, because you have 2020 behind you. You've been through that. It's been a learning curve. Do you see hope on the horizon?
I really do. Looking at the COVID numbers now, seeing that they're coming down, knowing that not only do we have 2 vaccines right now, but there are additional vaccines on the horizon. I know the one I'm really looking forward to is probably a year away, unfortunately, maybe a year and a half. It's the one that Iowa State University is working on, where you simply would have a little vial, you sniff it, you're done, one time, one shot, that's all you need. And I know they're working on seeing what the efficacy of that's going to be. I look at hospitalization rates starting to drop. We're seeing that there are more medical opportunities or more medical treatments available for those who do have COVID-19. That's another benefit. So I do see a brighter spring, a brighter summer, and our new normal of what school year is going to look like next year, whatever that's going to be. And I'm not sad that there's going to be a new normal. I'm disappointed we've all had to go through COVID, but seeing the opportunities we've been able to create for our students that COVID has kind of forced on us, and then leveraging those things that work really well to make a new normal for school, I think is going to be a good thing. I think change is good if done in the right way.
Yeah. So what is the long-term outcome for education overall following this pandemic?
I hope it's more flexibility and choice of voice for our students, especially as they scale up and get older and older. That the idea that you need to sit in a seat for 7 to 8 hours a day is the only way you can learn is no longer what we're going to do for every student across the board. To give our students the opportunity to maybe be in the building for 3 or 4 hours, take a couple of classes online, then go to an internship and make learning more experiential so they have those opportunities, especially junior and senior year, which is something we're working really hard on at the high school level by creating these pathways and having more opportunities for students to learn at their own rate. This magic formula of 40 weeks, 180 days, 7 hours a day, magically, poof, you've learned at the end of the year. Well, for some students, they may not need 20 weeks to learn whatever topic or class. They might need 10, they might need 12, they might need 22. And trying to build in some of that flexibility and allowing students, now that everyone's been online, right? Everyone's had the experience. For some, it's not a good fit. It doesn't work. For others, they enjoy the freedom, they enjoy being able to work at their own pace and kind of have more control. And for our students to have that opportunity moving forward and how we can create that is something we're all looking forward to.
I'm wondering what the conversation would have been a year ago before the pandemic, trying to propose some of these ideas of, hey, let's do hybrid. Let's offer some of the students to be remote. I don't think it would have gone over.
It would have been interesting, me being new last year and only having 59 days, including weekends, to be on the job before we shut school. My conversation was mainly, hi, nice to meet you. I'm new. Here's who I am. Tell me about yourself. So yeah, I definitely was not in that space at this time last year trying to do those things or even worry about it at that moment.
So we haven't really heard a lot from the unions during the pandemic. Does your school have a union for the teachers?
We do. In the leadership of our teachers union, it's phenomenal. They're great people. They're great teachers. And they really are looking out for the best interests of their students. Of course, they have the interests of the staff in mind as well. And we have a great working relationship and we collaborate all the time. So it's very important that they're in the loop on everything that happens.
And do you think that this has helped bring those sides together as well?
I can only speak for myself. I think so. It gave us the opportunity early on in my tenure as superintendent of Bloomfield Hills to kind of collaborate and work together on serious issues, right? We're talking about safety. We're talking about health. We're talking about instruction. Education is a serious business. And we've had very serious conversations. And so my goal, the goal of the district administrators, is making sure they're always in the loop and that our teachers have a voice in what's going on and they feel like they've been included on some of the decisions. Now, is everyone going to agree with every decision? Absolutely not. But you don't want people blindsided when a decision comes out and feel like they haven't had the voice or opportunity to share feedback and weigh in as far as what they see.
Patrick Watson with us here, just another minute or two on the show before we let you go. Anything that we didn't touch on that you want to add?
Well, I'm looking forward to, in the next couple of weeks, seeing the students in person. Also, we have a K-5 Bloomfield virtual program we're running, and I'll be visiting classrooms. Just looking forward to seeing our students again, and looking for a time where we can all get together and, see more people face to face, and just looking forward to finding additional ways we can help our students and staff navigate COVID-19.
Do you anticipate graduation is going to be in person?
I do. We anticipate being at DTE and being able to spread out an outdoor venue and allowing our students in a safe way to walk across the stage and kind of have that experience. We did a drive-in graduation last year, which was pretty cool. I have to admit, that was awesome. But we are looking forward, and as of right now, we will be back at DTE for our class of 2021.
Oh, the students are going to appreciate that. I am quite certain. Well, Superintendent, we appreciate your time.
All right, great. Thank you.
Happy 2021.
You too. Take care.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, we'll wrap up the show.
Keeping West Bloomfield connected during the coronavirus.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
We want to say thank you to all of our guests for taking time out of their schedule to be with us here on the Friday edition of the Megacast. Quickly before we go, though, Tyler, do you want to share with the audience some of the events going on this weekend?
Yeah, a lot going on this weekend. Very busy weekend. Of course, this morning we had the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce installation of board officers on Lakes FM and on Civic Center TV as well. That's going to be replaying throughout the afternoon today and all throughout the weekend. Then tomorrow, big game at 1 o'clock at Belleville High School. The West Bloomfield Lakers will be taking on the Belleville Tigers in the Division I state semifinal in football. That is a highly anticipated game. We'll have that live for you here on Civic Center TV and on 89.3 Lakes FM. And then Sunday afternoon, 2:30 p.m., the annual United We Walk event and ceremony will be live on Civic Center TV and on WB-TV, the West Bloomfield School District's channel, as well as their Facebook page at 2:30. We'll also have that live for you here on 89.3 Lakes FM and on lakesfm.com. Again, that is Sunday at 2:30 p.m.
That's going to do it for the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you for tuning in. Have a happy weekend.